Hello ladies and gentlemen, I am Brad Browning, aka Breakup Brad, and this video is by popular request. It's all about how to get back together with your ex when you dumped them, and now you regret it and you want to win them back. Is this possible? Well, yes, in my experience, it usually is possible, at least if you handle things properly and follow the guidance that I'll be sharing right here in this video. Now, before we get started, a reminder about my free quiz. If you want to know where you stand with your ex right now and what your chances are of ever getting them back, take the free 5-minute quiz at breakupbrad.com/quiz as soon as this video is over. Now, I do need to begin with a word of warning. There are a lot of factors that will determine how difficult winning back your ex is going to be. Now, for some of you out there watching this right now, it may be a matter of simply meeting up and asking him or her to get back together. Now that's obviously pretty unlikely, but in some cases, such as if it's only been a few days since your breakup, or your ex clearly didn't agree with your decision to break up, it really could be that simple. Really, time is the biggest factor here. The longer it's been since your initial breakup, the more difficult it's going to be to rebuild your ex's attraction to you to the point where he or she will want to get back together. Now that's, again, not to say that it's impossible to win back your lover, after a year or more apart, but it's definitely going to be a lot more challenging. Partly, the reason it's tough to get back together after a long time apart is because your ex will probably eventually find somebody new. And I think it goes without saying that you're going to have a tougher time if your ex is in a new serious relationship with somebody new. So if you are in that kind of situation, where it's been many months or even years since the initial breakup, and you already know that your ex is seeing somebody else and has been for some time already, then please think about moving on. I'm not saying you can't get him or her back, because I have seen it happen with my clients many times in the past, but you definitely do need to be ready for the possibility that you won't be able to get him or her back and that you will need to move on. Another thing that will affect your strategy and your odds of success is your ex's attitude and overall feelings towards you. Did you dump them in a brutal fashion, or was it a tough decision that you made together after shedding a lot of tears? Well, if you were a complete asshole and you kicked your ex to the curb, that may not actually hurt your chances of getting them back, believe it or not. But generally speaking, the cleaner your breakup, the easier it's going to be to get back together. Now, I know some of you are wondering, what if my ex initially didn't want to break up and it was all my decision, but since then, they've changed their mind and now they don't want me back? Well, that's a great question, and that is a common scenario as well, and you're going to need to use some of my sneaky psychological tactics to rebuild attraction and to change his or her mind. Now, I'm going to cover a few of these tactics shortly, but for my full video guide, where I describe a number of very powerful psychological techniques that you can use on your ex to make them want you back, please visit my website, breakupbrad.com. Now, regardless of which of the scenarios that I've just described applies to you, your starting point is going to be the same. If you haven't already done so, it's time to cut off the lines of communication with your ex, starting today. Now, depending on how long it's been since your initial breakup, you may need to employ the full 30 days of no contact, which is what I advise in 99% of the time to my clients. However, if you haven't spoken with your ex at all for 2 or more weeks already, then you can probably safely skip this part. But otherwise, you really do need to shut down all contact with your ex for a while, especially if the breakup happened fairly recently, in the last 6 or 8 weeks or so. Now, the no contact period is designed to give your ex the time to let go of negative memories and begin to foster some positive nostalgic ones. Now, this happens naturally when you're not talking to one another, and studies have shown that 30 days or so is the point at which those nostalgic feelings peak after a breakup. So basically, if you ignore your ex for a month after breaking up, that's when he or she is going to be missing you the most and thinking about all those amazing times that you shared together. The other reason for employing my no contact strategy is because it sort of acts as shock therapy. So instead of allowing your ex to gently let you go over a period of weeks or months, you're cutting yourself out of their life cold turkey. And trust me, if you've been in a serious relationship for a few months or longer, then suddenly having your partner disappear from your life is a huge shock, and it's going to create some serious heartache. So you need to make sure that your ex knows how painful it is when you're not around anymore, and the no contact strategy is the best way to achieve that. And after you've finished your period of radio silence, and again, the more recent your breakup and the more contact you've had since the breakup, the longer you need to avoid talking to your ex. At that point, it's then time to start rebuilding attraction and planting the seeds of romance in his or her mind. Basically, my techniques are designed to eliminate your ex's negative thoughts and feelings towards you and your relationship and replace them with positive ones. So instead of your ex thinking, ugh, that loser ex who might have cheated on me, every time they hear your name, instead you want them to think, ugh, how did I let that amazing person walk out of my life? That was such a mistake. Now, you've already started to do this by employing the no contact phase, because that's going to help your ex let go of the baggage and some of those negative memories. But now you need to build real organic attraction. You want to make your ex see getting back together as their best option, so that they'll ignore any other guys or girls in their life and be overwhelmed by their attraction to you, forcing them to ask you for a second chance. This part is where many people start making some serious mistakes. Building that kind of attraction, making your ex see you as their soulmate and the person they want to spend their life with, that doesn't happen with words. You can't just send your ex some flowers and hope that they'll suddenly fall back in love with you. The only time that strategy might actually work is if your ex already wants to get back together anyway. Otherwise, for 99% of you watching this video, sending love notes or spilling your heart out or sending flowers and gifts to your ex, all that stuff is going to do is exactly the opposite. It's going to make you look like a desperate, clingy loser. And since you are the one who broke up with your ex initially, or at the very least, maybe your decision to break up was mutual, you've actually got an advantage at this point in the process. Generally speaking, when you're the dumper rather than the one who's been dumped, you're going to find it easier to start talking to your ex again. And in particular, it's usually easier to set up in-person meetings with your ex. Why? Well, because if you've played your cards up correctly up to this point, your ex won't realize you've changed your mind and decided that you want to get back together. And that means that your ex is less likely to see your true intentions and won't feel threatened by the idea of hanging out in person with you. Now, in case I didn't already make it clear, you do not want your ex to know that you've changed your mind and decided that you want to get back together. Don't throw away the huge advantage that you have being the one who initiated the breakup by telling your ex that you want them back. Don't show any sadness or regret over the breakup, and don't ask for a second chance. Just act like you're confident in your decision to break up. You want your ex to think, that you're enjoying the single life, having fun, and you aren't affected emotionally at all. If you've already blown it and told your ex you want them back, or worse yet, if you've begged and pleaded for a second chance, well, that's not ideal, but don't sweat it. The no contact phase is even more important in this kind of situation, so you'll want to disappear from his or her radar for at least a few weeks, and then restart communication again, this time giving the impression that you're moving on and that you're no longer desperate or heartbroken. Those types of behaviors are attraction killers, not attraction builders. Now, don't start reestablishing the connection with your ex by suddenly sending them 50 messages a day and calling them every night. Really, slow and steady wins the race here. First, use a simple and fun text message just to break the ice. I've included a ton of examples of attraction building messages that are ideal to use at this point in my X Factor program. So please sign up at my website, breakupbrad.com, if you're stuck and you need some ideas on what to say to your ex to make them fall for you again. To summarize your strategy when it comes to slowly rebuilding a connection with your ex, which is a bridge to get you to the point where you can meet up with them in person, it's all about, keeping your ex smiling and having fun. So send them a meme or an inside joke via text, and then ignore them for a couple of days. Then bring up a funny memory you shared together and let the conversation go back and forth a couple of times before you shut it down. Always go slow, be upbeat and positive whenever you're talking with your ex, and give off the impression that you're loving life and you've been thriving since the breakup. Once you've done this for a couple of weeks, you'll likely be on good terms with your ex again, and they're going to be receptive when you suggest meeting up for a quick coffee date. Now, I recommend you frame this first meeting as just, grabbing a drink for 20 minutes after work to catch up. Or, meeting for coffee just to see how things are going with their new job. Basically, make it sound as benign and innocent as possible. Chances are, if you've followed my advice properly up to this point, your ex is going to agree, and now you're almost at the finish line. The final step is to get your ex to fall for you again. Now, that may sound like an impossible task, but it's really just a matter of flirting like crazy and bringing back the person you were when your ex first fell in love with you. You clearly, back then you had no problem charming your ex and building sexual and emotional attraction. Just remember, getting into dramatic, serious talks, arguments, or any negativity is only going to push your ex away and make you less attractive to them. So always be positive and upbeat, make your ex laugh, and share some fun times together again. And flirt, flirt, flirt. You don't want to come on too strong if your ex isn't ready for it yet, but gauge how he or she is responding to your initial flirting and adjust your game accordingly. Also, don't overthink it. Just have fun together, slowly start hanging out more and more, and sooner or later your ex is going to ask you the question that you've been wanting to hear. I miss you. Can we give our relationship another chance? Will you take me back? Okay guys, that's it for this video. Now you have a clear plan to get back together with your ex when you dumped them, only to later regret that decision. I sincerely hope that you follow my advice as closely as possible and that you do end up back with your ex someday very soon. If you need my personal help with your particularly unique or unusual situation, please visit breakupbrad.com/coaching to sign up and work with me one-on-one starting today. And of course, don't forget to take that free quiz I mentioned earlier at breakupbrad.com/quiz to find out your chances of success. Thanks so much for liking, subscribing, and leaving all your questions in the comment section below. I will see you guys soon in the next video. Bye for now.